healing, or just even just being a witness. So the bottom line is, if something were to happen to my son, my husband, whoever, these people that mean, so my raisons d'etre, my reasons for being in this world, could I still stand on that stage? And I am 100% sure that I could do that. Now, I'm not talking about how that will affect my life. The grief, what it might lead me to do. That's not about that. It's not saying that it's right, that you won't grieve or whatever. I'm just saying that the message, it's about that moment, the death. What death is I had to be put through the ringer in order to come out and say that, because I knew I was going to go out into the world and present this. Death says certain things like there is no good death, there is no bad death. There's only your death, simple and perfect. Now, to deliver that to somebody whose child might have been, starved to death or whatever, can I still say that that was the perfect death for that child? And, that's where it gets tricky. But if I didn't have that own personal experience with death and this message, I couldn't stand on that stage and say what I do, because I know where it's going, and I know that I have to be that voice no matter what shows up in front of me. And as I was writing this, I had some pretty funky stuff show up in front of me that I had to go, oh, okay, it can look like this, it can feel like this, can I still say this, can this still be true? And the answer has been yes, and there's no way I could have gotten on that stage, that opening that with a full house, if I didn't feel that so strongly.
So it's interesting, this using the monologues, the fact that there are 5 different monologues in your play, it sounds like allows you to present totally different perspectives on death. So you're not
right.
just looking at death from how you experienced it with your mom when she was dying, but you're able to present different perspectives of it. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about those 5 monologues and a little bit more about what they consist of.
Sure. The first monologue, which used to be, it's called Mortality, and that one used to be somewhere in the middle. But as we started rehearsing and staging the whole thing, there was something about this monologue. And I'll tell you, this monologue completely contradicts everything I've just said. It contradicts death. It contradicts, and there's such a part of me, and I think it's in everyone that connects to this, that understands this. And so I had to present that as the first one, so people are like, they can also connect on that level. It's like, it's not all just, oh, there's beautiful and there's afterlife. No, it also really, really, it's really unfair. So the first monologue is this woman who comes out and it's like, it's ridiculous. This is her first line. It's ridiculous. It's the cruelest, most unfair curse put upon humanity. And she goes on to talk, she's like, what kind of torturous punishment is it, knowing that everything and everyone you hold dear, everything and everyone that gives any meaning to your life will disappear into the void for no reason at all at any moment? Why? So it's this whole thing of the anger, but also the vulnerability and the helplessness of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
it exposes right away our deepest fears and our most negative thoughts and feelings about death. It sounds like it lays that right out on the table at the beginning.
Exactly, because I feel that needs to be represented there. It's real. It's part of it, and I think it's part of being human. Whether you're comfortable with death, whether you've have gone through grieving and you accepted loss, there's still this part that it's like, what? It's not fair. And we're right in being angry and being afraid, so those emotions when they come up, that we are, it's okay. We can feel that. We can, curse death, as death is trying to say, why do you keep cursing me? But it's okay, because that's part of it. And there's also this part where she says, why do we have to be aware of this? Why can't we just be like the animals, living our lives until we're not? The existential crisis that we have to live with every single day of our lives with no possible solution for it is crippling. Now, this is coming from somebody who thinks about death all the time, every single day, which wasn't me, 5 years ago, but my God, it has been me the last 5 years, every single day. And part of my journey, which is the final monologue, my mom's monologue, is that going from that perspective of death, which is still very real, to this other perspective and understanding that it can be a gift and it can set you free if you surrender to it, if you let it show you, let it teach you, let it guide you. I think a part of the suffering and the fear of our death is that we deny it. There's a Native American saying, that I heard once. So you white people wake up in the morning and you assume you're going to live, So when I started writing these monologues, particularly in the fear of my son dying, not so much my own death, it was like it could be his last day today. It could be my last day today. It really can. So how can I live with that being a gift rather than something that scares the shit out of me, so I'd rather not think about it? And that is truly invigorating. It really is. And at the same time, there is that fear and that sadness that will always be part of it, that it could be your last day. So live it freely, live it fully, but there's a sadness as well in that because it could be your last day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It sounds as if the monologues, they take the viewer in the audience on a journey through these different perspectives of death, but that journey in many ways is the journey you went on yourself as you were coming to terms with death.
Right. Yeah, so the second monologue is, because these are all, I wrote them all, except the second monologue, which is written by Harley Moore, and I got this from a book by Maria Dancing Hart called The Greatest Adventure of Life. And it was just such a simple but yet profound monologue that I had to bring it in as part of it. And that one is more about, I play sort of a man who had this horrible relationship with his father. His father was a hellfire and brimstone preacher in the small town where I grew up, and just the constant fighting, and, they hated each other passionately. And then, his father dies, and he sees his father's ghost who is laughing his head off, and then, and his father gives him this message, which he can't believe, because it's not like he's into that ghost spiritual stuff, but he couldn't deny that his father was right there in the room, So, and this message is so beautiful and simple, and so there's that story, and then there's the experience, there's this sort of woman, it's called Tristis, and she's actually experiencing her own death, and she expresses her sort of complete surprise and emotions of this journey of crossing over. And then there is Persephone. I felt Persephone so strongly, the goddess of the underworld. Mm-hmm. The myth of Persephone is so strong in our psyche, whether we're aware of it or not, And she comes to tell her story from her side, that, she was snatched from her home upon this earth, very violently and fiercely by Hades. But the story nobody hears is once she was in the underworld, this was her home. She awakened to her purpose, which is, to be the wife of Hades and to sing people's song as they cross over. She actually tells them, you all have a song, each and every one of you. If I'm not there singing your song, who will know that? Who will do that for you? So this like, right? I mean,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, and so it's like the last line in that one is, I am Persephone, the goddess of the underworld. You will feel my gentle hand, and you will hear your song again. You will remember, and you will be free. And this came from a story that I heard. I connected it to Persephone because I feel there's something in there, but there's like African cultures, tribes that every time somebody's born, there's a song that is their song, and they sing it, and they teach that to all the village. So when it's time, their time to go out, they sing that song again. So it's like their birth and death song. And I'm like, when the myths of the culture have such rich, beautiful parts of it, like something like you all have a song, there's this sacredness, there's this acceptance of the journey that is very much lacking in our culture, especially because we don't think about this or allow it even. So I felt she came through to bring that back, to just plant that seed, like really, we are all songs here on this dance of life, and, it's, you will sing your way in and you sing your way out, and that's Death's big message, by the way, that I don't like to fight. I always win, in the beginning or in the end, in the middle, or from the very beginning, I always win. I don't like to fight. I love to dance. And if you look at the language we have in our culture about death, fighting the battle of cancer, whatever, all this, it's so inbred in our consciousness. And we start to look at it like it's a dance. It's going to happen no matter what. And if it's going to happen, if for you it's written that it's a dance with cancer, then so be it. If it's a dance with a car accident, then, but that we look at it as our final dance rather than a battle, because if we look at it as a struggle, as a fight, as a battle, death will always win. So you feel so helpless, you feel so meaningless. But if it's looked at as a dance, then you have your equal part in this that is essential and it's very meaningful. And so that's the whole thing. Death's theme song is Sway, by Dean Martin. Sway with me, dance with me, so it's kind of like that's shifting the way we look at it, and the way we experience it. So it becomes filled with that beauty, that specialness, that sacredness, regardless of how it shows up,
Oh, I love that. And Giselle, I know that you just had 3 performances over the past weekend, so I was hoping you'd just share with us all the reception you received from the audience when you performed it live for them.
Well, it was very, very surprising. There was something about the writing of the text that I just felt so confident, and it was so strong that I didn't doubt it for a second. And it's not like an arrogance or it's like I said, it was beyond me. I was just the vessel for it. But going to that part of this journey where I have to embody the message as an actress, I have never been so scared in my life. Without going into too many details, at 5:30 in the morning Friday on the night of the premiere, I was already throwing up in the toilet because of nerves, it was so intense. And stepping on that stage, like I said, it was that moment from backstage on stage where I'm like, if I can make it onto that stage without passing out, I know, I'll just be riding the wave, but I hope I can get there. And I did, with numb hands and, but I did. And then it was fascinating because, first of all, the whole show is played to the audience. So rehearsing it for months, with 1 or 2 people watching that, Kathy, the director, and every now and then my husband would give some feedback, and other people dropped in here and there. It was like a whole different world. I'm like, this is what I'm doing it for. Now I have somebody to play with. I have somebody to exchange with. And to play to the first show to a full house, which is about 100 people, was fascinating. And the responses, I really had no idea. I had hoped it would be something like that, but it just went way beyond my hope and what I could dream of. Just so many people taking huge efforts, like waiting for